G'day guys! Today I'm opening up a Xbox Series S. This particular one has potentially got liquid damage and is not powering on. I do see that someone has opened this prior to me, but let me give you my first thoughts on this. This is a lot smaller than I first anticipated. After recently getting a PS5, which is quite massive, I'm looking at this. It's no bigger than two iPhone XRs in length. It's almost the same height as an iPhone XR, or same depth. The height, it's a baby. I was expecting these to be much bigger, like essentially out to about here, but this is a tiny little piece of technology. So it's got me fairly excited for what it is, especially after seeing how well these can emulate stuff. So as an emulation box, it is quite tiny, and it's going to be quite power efficient. So if you're wanting to emulate essentially PS2 era games, PS2, GameCube, I've been hearing that the original Xbox also getting emulated on here. So far it's looking like a little beast. So I'm just using a T5, I'm not sure what T this one is, to take off those two bottom screws. Simple. I have been liking how the Xboxes have been coming apart lately. Now looking at this, I have a lot of screws here to undo, with no disk drive to worry about. So I'll just get started here and start taking these out. Assumably the longer screws go through, but more than likely I'm going to assume that all screws need to come out. I'm looking for signs of liquid damage somewhere in here. The X-brace I can hopefully just ignore and leave the cooler attached. Haven't seen any videos on how to take these apart. As I was saying, haven't looked up a video on how to tear these down, but I've certainly been enjoying how modular Xboxes have been getting put together over recent years. Where after having an Xbox Series X apart recently that had possum piss inside of it. Literally apparently peed from the roof and it had gone down and it went straight through the ventilation, which very unlikely. I can't say I've had that risk, but apparently this household was known for that to happen. So I had one of those apart recently and they were fairly modular with everything being in stages. So being two screws at the bottom was off on this. Curious if this will lift up now. Yeah, that looks to be the case. Stage 1. Stage 2. Yeah, the fan seems to have had a hard life. Power supply. Must be held in by those three screws. The fan just wiggled loose then. No optic drive, it's very simple and straightforward to get in here. Flip this over. It's probably going to drop out the power supply. Screws are fairly torqued in. Power supply getting loose there. Go. I'm going to leave the external PCB boards attached as I don't believe I really need to do too much with those at this point in time. So I don't think where I'm wanting to get to is part of that. So we'll flip that over now. Lift this up. Extremely modular, slot it in. I'm certainly liking the modular design of these. I figure that's grime or dirt. We'll potentially take this apart. Looking at the board, I'm seeing a bit of corrosion down here. Lean that up on here, zoom it in. Just here. And a bit over here too. So there may be very well more going on here than first meets the eye. So next I'll take off the heatsink and get the board out. I'm curious to see where else it is liquid damaged. Granted, with the board fully removed, it is going to be a lot easier for me to clean it. So I think I'm just going to take apart the whole thing, including get out the board, the daughter boards that are on the outside of the shell, as they need to be disconnected. And then I'll see the full extent of this, and hopefully a simple clean of it with some isopropyl alcohol may get it alive once more. But I fear this may be too far gone, especially without inspecting the power supply, which the power supply I'm going to assume is not too healthy, considering there is liquid underneath the power supply, or has been. Sometimes I think a drill would be easier to have on hand sometimes. This one here looks to be the Wi-Fi Bluetooth chip, I would be assuming. Should pull directly out, like so. We have what's probably the power button over here. And then we have another chip over there. So maybe there is more to this story. It's odd that I'm taking these off. I'm seeing signs like this, which to me usually comes from moisture or liquid. This one over here. Go. With all that removed, I assume I should be able to pull it out with this. No? Aha. This bit needs to be pulled off. There we go. And now we should be able to lift out. Let's see what we see underneath. Have our NVMe drive over here. Just leave it down here. I'm seeing signs over here. Some over here. Bingo. There is our suspect number one. Right there. So this one has definitely been wet. Give that a clean with some isopropyl alcohol. I'm umming and ahhing. I know that I should, but I just don't want to. Take off the cooler up here, but bingo. More signs of liquid damage straight under here. So we need to come off. Similar V brackets to the earlier Xboxes, or cross brace. If you've ever had one of those apart. There we go. So I was hoping upon inspecting this that it was simply going to be the power supply that took the brunt of it. But as you can see right here, this IC here is not looking too fresh. So I'm going to give this a hit with alcohol. Here, here, there. So now that I've cleaned off these sections, one here, I did find an extra one over here as well that didn't look too healthy. So I've cleaned off the spots that did look corroded. Granted, usually when they go white and corroded like that, usually they're already gone as the electricity is flowed through the liquid and typically burnt itself out and shorted itself out and damaged chips, capacitors, anything else that's along the circuitry. So I'm expecting it to be not much good. Also, this chip down the bottom here comes up as being a low voltage dropout regulator. So to me that seems to be focusing on low end of power, which being its job is to deal with power, and it's had liquid there, I'd say it's not going to be very good for this machine. Let's get this back together. I'm not going to bother replacing the thermal paste at this point in time, especially if it's a dead machine. That'll be a waste of time and resources. So I'd rather keep my $10 thermal paste and use it on something that I know that is going to go. Luckily for me, the vast majority of this can be reassembled without too much drama. So I don't have to put too many screws back in just to test this out. What I should be able to do is put it the orientation that it needs. Put the side port PCBs back in. Put their screws back in. Hook up the power supply, hit the power button, and go yippee-ki-yay and see what we get. Oh, that must go around a different corner. Or I've got that in the wrong spot. I do. Over to here. And you go over here. You go over here. Which way do you live? Something. Something like that, I believe. Over here. There we go, that's pushed in. That's pushed in. That's pushed in. Luckily the power supply install is very similar to the PlayStation. Just need to push that in, make contact. Let's get the fan on here. There. To there. Line up these holes. Push down. And bingo, we're connected. So I'm going to give this a quick test and just see what happens. Yeah, the room's currently dark. My fluoro died. So right now I've got power hooked up to the Xbox Series S, hooked up to the screen, hit the power button, which should be like that. Like that. And we are still dead. So my suspicion was correct. It is too far gone. So it's beyond my level of repair, this particular one. Granted, there are probably plenty of YouTube technicians out there that are able to repair this. But sadly, it wasn't the power supply as I hoped. It was the main board that was damaged. And on this particular unit, that's beyond what I can do. Anyway, that's a look at the Xbox Series S liquid damage. That will do for today, and I'll see you guys later.